All right. Welcome back, my regular viewers, listeners, and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier iHypnosis coach and your personal guide. And today on the iHypnosis coaching journeys, your podcast designed specifically for you, the digital creator, the digital coach, and of course, the healer. I have a really amazing guest. For those of you who've been following along, whether you've seen Facebook, um, the Facebook video that I quickly created today, just to to bring in Diya. Diya is somebody who I met at one of the most formative points in my journey as a digital coach and healer. And for people, especially, who I've been very fortunate to meet in 2019, they are somebody who not only stood out, but somebody who has really, put a lot of heart, a lot of effort into the work that she's been doing. And when I reached out to Dia, I was really thrilled, as they say, thrilled to bits, that she said yes. And of course, with this, Dia, this is your cue. You can turn on your camera, and as I said, there's a very special brand of people that were around in the year 2019, and we met at one of these programs, a program called the Game Changers Festival. For those of you who are in the coaching industry, coaching business, you probably may or may not have heard of it then, but you've definitely heard about it in the last couple of years. And ever since I met there's this very strong desire to make a difference that I've just been hearing her say more and more and more. And when Dia said yes, I said amazing. For me, this is one loop that is closing and another that's opening. I had this idea in my mind way back in 2019, 2020, incidentally, when I had started to do a couple of these interviews, podcasts. In those days, I don't think we still called it podcasts. It was interviews that we did. And I had actually reached out to Dia saying, hey, I've started to interview people. I'd love to have you on my YouTube channel. That's all that I called it at that point. And it was meant to happen now. And so, for those of you who, there's always a behind the scenes. There's been a lot of, juggling that we've been doing to actually show up here like this. So, with that, Dia, welcome firstly to the iHypnosis coaching journeys, and I'm really looking forward to hearing so much about the amazing things that you've been doing over these last couple of years. So, welcome.
Thank you so much, Rahul. I mean, it's an honor to be here and to share, my story, my experience, and to impact people to go beyond, or rather, to inspire people to go beyond their comfort zone, go beyond their that glass ceiling, and just be okay to break it. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and really thank you so much once again for having me here.
Nice. So, yeah, I've been really fascinated with the way that you have been building your business. Um, at a point where today, at least when you say personal branding, especially for people who are coaches, it's at least a familiar term. But way back in 2019, it was uh, it was more than an alien term, meaning people had never really heard about personal branding.
Yeah.
And so, maybe to start with, I'd love for you to share, what you do today, because I know you used, there's a very specific reason why you've talked about impact. So I'd love for you to just share with people, especially who are, coaches, I know, people who are healers, who will really benefit from so much that you have, learned along the way and assimilated. So if you could share, what you do today, and then of course we'll go deeper into your
Absolutely.
story.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Rahul. So I have been doing so. Of course, as we spoke about personal branding. Personal branding is something I've been pursuing for a very long time, and
Mm.
I started my career as an image consultant, as a trainer in 2011, 2012. That's when I, got my whole career into training. I've been training since then. And my personal branding was, of course, the journey started in 2019 when I started taking things online. And that evolved into something that is absolutely magical and so close to my heart today. And today it's something that I stand strong for,
Mm.
because it's not just about you, it's about the people in the room who need
Mm.
to get impacted. And how do you impact those people? Through the way you stand in front of them. So that's
Right.
when I said, okay, the one thing, of course, it started with, calling my brand Design Your Presence. Then I started
Mm.
using my name, I started doing things, I started, trying things. And today we have evolved into Impact Creators Club. And today the
Mm.
work that I do is a mix. It's a combination of image, personality, confidence
Mm.
for marketing and sales. So
Nice.
any coach, consultant, any healer, any
Mm.
trainer, any working professional who wants to
Mm.
go places, and whatever your goal or your growth you want in your life, whether it's your
Mm.
client, whether it's confidence, whether it's a new relationship, whether anything to do with your
Mm.
opportunity or a new life that you want to create, being
Mm.
an impact creator will
Mm.
enrich you and it will enrich the society around you. So my
Right.
mission today stands very strong, wherein I say I want to build impact creators who are
Mm.
aware about themselves, their image, their
Mm.
personality, their confidence, connection, everything, so that
Mm.
anywhere they show up, they don't compromise on that. And
Right.
that enriches the society, that also
Mm.
fulfills the society. And while they show that, it inspires others also to step up their game much higher than what they're
Mm.
doing. So that's
Awesome.
what I do in a nutshell.
Right. I so there are two things that to use nowadays jargon, the double clicking. So one thing I would definitely want to start with, and also I have a selfish motive here because impact is something that I truly resonate with. Some of you may know this, some of you may not know this, but one of the funnels that I had created now about 2 years ago was around this theme of impact, right?
Mm.
Because I really believe in the power of impact. So I'd
Yeah.
love for you to share, when you say impact creators, like what's the story behind it? Like, how did you discover? How did you? Yeah, exactly, right.
Well, it's been quite um, so this whole thing, it was never in my mind to
mm,
use this term for a very long time. I would
mm,
always move. So when you get started with your business, when you start something, you're always a little
mm,
wrong, right? We
right.
we are trying to learn
Mm,
new things, trying to experience
mm,
new things. So I'll be very,
right.
very candid and honest about it. I was just
Mm,
doing what the market was doing. Okay, so there
right.
was a point in personal branding. I was only doing that. Oh, people are on Instagram. Let's go to Instagram. Okay, people are on LinkedIn.
Right.
Let's do LinkedIn. Let's do this. Let's do
Mm,
that. So I was not really congruent to what I was really doing. And I would
mm,
also hesitate a little bit that what will people think if I talk about image and personality? Because honestly,
mm,
a lot of people think image is all about being a little superficial, but that's the wrong
mm,
way of looking at it. Image is about
right.
authenticity. It's about inside out transformation and all that. So when I started realizing this was I think in 2022. Okay, this was
Mm,
maybe about, yeah, just 2022. So I was into the business. I was doing okay. I was doing fine, but I had reached the glass ceiling. I had reached
mhm.
that, and it was like a do or die situation. I said,
Wow.
if you don't be congruent to what you're growing and what you're building, you'll not go
Mm,
beyond this. It'll just be the way it is.
beautiful. Mm,
So that got me to literally go back to the drawing board. It was almost like that,
mm,
right? And when I sat and I thought to myself,
mm,
the first word that came to my mind was impact. And I
beautiful.
said, okay, this is the universe calling me and telling me, hey, you know what? You've been sleeping all this while. Do something about
Right.
it.
Right.
And that impact that slowly came out into, people want to create impact. Impact is all about, positive inspiration, positive
Right.
motivation, transformation, everything. So I said, okay, how do I join the dots and make it all work
Mm,
for people? Because,
mm,
say, for example, um, I don't know, say for example, somebody wants to market themselves online,
Mm,
right? So when they market themselves online, um, what do they need to do to
mm,
stand out from the competition?
mm,
So I said the one word is they need to impact people more. And
right.
how do they impact? By being authentic, by being honest,
Mm,
by being
mm,
raw, by being real, telling their
mm,
story, all that. So I said, yeah, all these buzzwords were coming in my head. And I just slept it. I think one of the nights I was just sleeping and I was just tossing and turning. I was like, no, there's something
mm.
that is, not letting me move forward. There's something, okay.
Right.
And then I had a couple of conversations with, friends who have been my accountability partners as well. And they're
Mm,
like, yeah, you like creativity, right? And you like,
mm,
creating things. I said, yeah.
mm,
So maybe you can plug in something like impact and creator. I said impact
mm.
creator. And they're like, hey, you got it. And I was like, wow, okay, so this is something that nobody's using. And it
Right.
is something that's fresh and something that, people
Mm,
need to know. And that whole thing of impact creation came out. And
mm.
since then, it's been no looking back. And anybody who
Yes.
looks at that term, they are very curious because they want to
Mm,
know what is image, what
mm,
is personality, how do you come and help,
mm,
and how do you,
mm.
kind of put it all together, even through business and career growth. So
Right.
yeah, that's where I am. That's why
Beautiful.
you can see a big smile on my face whenever I talk about,
Yes.
being an
Yes.
impact
It's like
creator.
the hot buttons, right?
Yes, yes, for sure.
So, hearing your story kind of reminds me of my journey as well. This is 2022, somewhere around July, August. And I had somewhat of a similar, sort of like not almost like a dark night of the soul where you're like, what is it? What is it? What is it? Like, what is it that defines me? Or why do I do what I do in
Mm,
essence, right? And like you stumbled, or you kind of like saw this thing called impact. And for me, my journey at that point kind of took me from impact to, at one point I had one of my avatars, if you want to call it, which was impact living society. So that was like one of the first funnels in 22 when I had launched it, because that was sort of like the evolution for me over the last whatever 2 decades now. So it's beautiful to hear how, you know, in really trying to find and define ourselves, we we make these journeys, right?
yes.
Because and that's also the reason why, like, the iHypnosis coaching journeys,
Mm,
that framing came out of this, which is, as coaches, as healers, people who really want to make that difference, who want to make that impact. Um, it's an evolution, right? It's not
yes.
something that's set in stone, and then you're kind of like stuck with it. Because I'd love for you to also share, because this is what makes your journey so unique. When we used to have conversations way back, this would have been 2020 and
Mm,
2021 also, if memory serves me right. You were sort of exploring, the lens through, let's say, the filter of, you had to design your presence, right? So I'd love for
yeah.
you to share, what was that journey evolution from that being sort of like the stage which led you to this, which is, it's all about creating impact or impact creation.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because again, I'm saying this also because, like I said, I don't see this podcast as just, hey, what's your hero's journey, and what are the three things that
Mm,
that you have to share with the audience. I truly
yeah.
believe that every guest has something so unique about them that will
Yes.
help people who are like us, but who started after us. And I'm
Yes.
saying this also because people who are watching you, especially right now, they don't know what a badass you are, right? In 2019, in 20, and I know that's exactly, that's, see, the hallmark of a badass is, you don't consider yourself to be a badass. You genuinely wear it so lightly, right?
Yes.
In
I do.
2019, just a little bit of personal anecdote, right? 2019, when I was in that journey of, okay, I need to learn digital marketing, I need to learn sales psychology, sales philosophy, marketing psychology, marketing philosophy, and all of that jazz, right? One of the things that I was seriously struggling with was this whole technology thing, right? Building a website, because in those days, that's what we used to do. And when I met you, I think like breeze through, or you like crushed through not only creating website, building it literally, as they say, with your own bare hands, and you even created like a course. This is, I'm talking
Yeah.
like what, 5 years ago, right? I was like, man, you know, you are a role model for me, because it's like some part of me couldn't grasp it fully, but I was like, one part was like, one tiny voice was like, okay, if Diya can do it, maybe I can, right? And I'm saying all of this because we are all in this evolutionary process. We are by
Yes.
no means finished product. We are by no means Coca-Cola of today. Because if you remember, any brand has been through that process of evaluation and evolution, right? So it's
Yes.
like Coca-Cola of whatever, almost 100 years ago or something,
Yes.
to what it is today. It's not the same, right? So I'm just sort of like setting the stage here, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'd love for you to share what that was, because there's a lot of heart in that version of you, but there's something very different about you. And today you talk about impact creation and impact creators, and so I'd love for you to share that evolution from then to that version of you to this version of what you do today. Ooh, I like that
Oh,
that
well, I mean, you just put me in a spot, but I'm gonna just say it. Um, so, okay, I'll be a little honest again over here. Not little,
please.
I'll be very honest over here. Um, of course, I was not. I mean, this happens to many business owners, many people who are
Mm,
still exploring themselves.
mm,
So I was actually wearing a mask for a very long time,
mm,
in
mm.
terms of that, I was not owning what I actually know. I
Beautiful.
would think that's not good enough. That's
Mm,
not, why personal development? Who personal development?
right.
Why personality?
Mm,
Why image? People are not going to pay me for this.
mm,
So when I did design your presence, I was doing it with an intention of growing a business,
mm.
building it up, just taking it forward.
Yeah.
Today's day and age is all about online businesses and
Correct.
online
Correct.
courses and doing this and doing that. So I
Mm,
literally had to follow my mentor and just do everything what he was doing.
mm,
So it was, literally like I was just following, just
mm.
just following a path blindly.
Right.
But in designer presence, there was something that did not let me sustain more. I
Mm,
was holding back a lot. I was not being myself.
right.
And that, though I was making the money, though I was making everything, though I was,
Mm,
getting people coming in, but it was just at
mm,
that level. And
mm.
everywhere I would go, I would get signs saying that, yeah, you can do much bigger than this. You can do much
Wow.
bigger than this. And
Mm.
I was not believing that for a
Just
long
to
time.
pause you here, could you share a little bit, like, click through this when you say you're getting signs? Because this is a very, very powerful
Yeah.
uh, reflection that you just shared right now. Could
Yes.
you go a little
Yes.
deeper into this?
Yeah, so science, like when I would see now, I attend a lot of personal development programs. Okay, and you must be knowing Success Gyan and
Mm-hmm.
all these other places.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was attending, I would sit
Mm,
in the energy of people who are also learning
mm,
and also understanding themselves.
mm,
So while
mm.
that happened, I was also understanding myself. And whenever
Correct.
my mentor, like I have a couple of my mentors, I would give names like Blair Singer, Siddharth
Mm,
Parshekar, all these people,
mm,
they would just drop like truth bombs, like
mm,
honest things, not literally on my face, but it felt like they were talking to me.
mm.
There were times like, you be congruent on the journey, or there
Right.
was a point where there's like, just own it, whatever you have, own it
Mm.
like 100%. Then I had, this whole thing of how you do anything is how you do everything. So it was like all these messages are like, yeah, well, I need to kind of do something here. And there was also a part of me which said that don't be too hard on yourself, because
Mm.
you are building this all by yourself alone, and not
Mm.
anybody in your family also understands what you're doing. Forget
Right.
that. I mean, even when you're in a community, not everybody will understand your
Mm.
message till you
True.
understand your message better. So
Yeah.
designer presence was actually a process for me to understand where I am, what I'm
Right.
doing, how I'm going to be
Right.
working with people, and of course a lot about myself. That transition, those things,
Mm.
that those triggers got me to transition into building Impact Creators Club, wherein of
Mm.
course it did take me a while to help my clients understand that this is the change we are making. It took me quite
Mm.
some time, quite a few months to be very honest. And at the same time, there were these little voices, now what about the older
Mm.
courses? What about the
Right.
programs you were doing? What about, so
Right.
all those things started coming in my mind. It was like, Diya, are
Mm.
you doing the right thing? But
Wow.
I would just like to say something that when you're taking a risk, it's never
Mm.
perfect. It is never
Beautiful.
perfect. It is
That's
always
beautiful.
going to be something where there will be some people who will not like you, there will be some people who like you, there'll be some things you will
Mm.
make a mistake, there'll be some things where
Mm.
you learn. So you have to be okay with that balance so that you can
Mm.
move forward and break the threshold. So I said, I don't have
Wow.
a choice. I have to break the threshold.
Mm.
This is not about me. Because in designer presence, it was a lot to do with, okay, now what do I do next? Okay, which post to
Right.
put up? Okay, what to do this? Okay, now this is in trend, so I'll put this. In that kind
Right.
of format, I would have probably even gone with AI and everything which I don't even
Right.
care, you know. But
Right.
when I got into Impact, when I started building Impact Creators Club, I
Mm.
saw so much of harmony, so much of
Mm.
congruency. Even though the mistakes were coming in, I was okay with it. If a client would
Mm.
come, few people even left my community, and I'll be honest, it happens in every community. People just,
Mm.
they move on with different journeys. I was,
Correct.
of course, upset initially, but then after
Mm.
a point, I said, look, you can't please everybody. You can't make
Mm.
everyone happy.
Right.
If this is something that is true to you, the clients and the people who want to come to you, they will come to you.
Right.
And that's
Amazing.
exactly what happened. My
Mm.
business started scaling up more and more. I put in more effort. There were more risks. I kept
Sure.
moving forward, kept moving forward, kept
Mm.
moving forward. And I saw that I'm falling in love with personal development. And I was like, this is just me. I can't
Mm.
be something else. And there was also this fear that, a lot of people are doing the same thing. Everyone's
Right.
talking about confidence, connection, and all that. So why
Mm.
me? And I just said, you know what? If I've done it so much, why not me?
Mm.
That's the thing. And
Beautiful.
that's how it started. That's how my tribe also grew. I started giving
Mm.
more to my people, and being there for them more. And yeah, that's the
Mm.
journey, which has been raw,
Nice.
real, honest. I
Yeah.
have been through my own adversities. I will not lie about that. I feel that, even though your experience doesn't mean you don't go through adversities.
Mm.
I know my coaches, my own mentors have gone through their own adversities, and there's nothing
Mm.
to hide about it. So just own it, and move forward. That's the thing.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's really powerful. Owning it, being true to yourself, being honest
Yes.
with yourself, and especially in this kind of work, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, whether it's at a sale, whether it's at a an orientation call, whether it is people sussing you out, like, are you a match for them, and are they a match for you as well? um it's like your product and your brand and your uh, person and so much more, right? So
Yes.
it's a very unique space. It's a very unique thing that we are doing,
Yeah.
and it's new. It's
Yes.
not something that's been around for 50 or 100 years,
Yeah.
especially in the way that we are doing it today. It's
Yes.
barely, like I said, for people who were there in 2019, uh, it's a it's a very different mindset to be still
Yeah.
here today in 2024.
It takes so much of. Um, I also did a lot of self coaching
Yeah.
in this process because I
Mm.
know that a lot of people who have that old mindset of growth. So, see, when we talk
Mm.
about growth mindset, also, growth mindset doesn't mean that you have a growth mindset, so you've arrived. But in growth mindset,
Mm.
there is also something else. You evolve. You go
Yes.
beyond that growth mindset because
Yeah.
that soon becomes your comfort zone, and then you have to grow
Yeah.
more. So that I know
Mm.
that there are a lot of people. Personally, I know a lot of people who quit in 2019.
Mm.
2019. I just don't see them
Mm.
anymore. But I
True.
just give it back, and you know this. We have
Yeah.
had like conversations about this and all that. You
Yes.
know this that it takes a lot to go beyond that threshold,
Mm.
and it's a lot of work to coach yourself and to be
Mm.
okay to be ready to restart, to rework, to
Mm.
rebuild, to rebrand, and keeping
Yeah.
that ego aside and saying, you know what, I already have so much experience, so what more do I need to do?
Right.
There is a lot that this world needs, and we
Mm.
need to be there to hold the fort.
Yeah.
And you can't just have a
Powerful.
2019 growth mindset for that. That's how it is.
So true. So true. I mean, listening to you reminds me of a conversation I had yesterday with somebody who's he's also been around at this point, and it's like the echoes of exactly what you're saying right now. That for people who have stuck around, um, so pre-COVID, and then obviously in COVID, and then post-COVID, um, it 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 just reminds you that this is the beginning. This is literally the very
Yes,
beginning of the journey, and
yes,
um, when you're able to ask the tough questions, when you're able to hold that space for yourself, and of course you have resources, you have accountability partners, you have mentors who will also show up for you at the time in the way that you need them,
that you need.
you know
Yes, so true.
so that is something that really makes that difference. So um, I'm just sort of like thinking about what we've talked about so far, and let me ask you this: like, you've seen people, so you work, so for people who don't know yet, you work with people who are uh, like they're employed, meaning they're employees,
Yeah, I work with
right?
them with an array. So initially it was all about coaches and consultants.
Hmm.
Then, when I started, like, of course, when things changed and when I started seeing how it's required for everybody to build their
Hmm.
impact, that's when
Hmm.
working professionals started coming in. Then business owners started coming in. We have, it's very vast. It's not just
Hmm.
about only about income. It's also
Hmm.
about what you do in your career that will get
Right.
you to raise that impact, so that either you
Hmm.
want your new job, you want to start something new, you want to
Hmm.
build a business, you want to get a promotion. So it became an
Hmm.
array of things.
Hmm.
So, and I think everyone wants to build their confidence, everyone wants to build their image and personality.
Hmm.
There's something that is holding them back. So how to
Yeah.
break away that? So yeah,
Hmm.
so a very, I would say a varied audience I have
Got
right
it.
now. Yeah.
Got it. So, in this context, right? Like, you sort of, we inadvertently went into that space, which was the uh, it's like unintended consequences, but really powerful consequences, which is you having those moments, several of them, and then you were like, okay, yeah, you need to take a hard look at you and what you stand for, and be
Mm,
in sync with you. So I'm going to ask a question a little differently, which is, what were possibly maybe two or three things that when they happened they really sucked, and you were like, oh my god, why is this happening to me? I wish this, it's like, what the hell, right? I mean, I show up 100%, 1,000%, but this is happening to me right now, what the hell, right? So it's like going from a WTH phase, or a sense, a feeling, to today when you're thinking about it, you're like, I'm so glad it happened, right?
mm,
So in that sort of journey lens, if you want to call it that, right? What would be maybe one of two or three? What would be like the first one that you love to share? Like, okay, this happened, and at that point it hurt. I was like, why?
mm.
What did I do wrong? But
Yeah.
now, when you're thinking back and thinking about it, you're like, hmm.
Oh well. Okay, so I mean, I for the longest time, not longest time, just like the last one day, I've been hesitating to share it. But
Oh,
this
wow.
actually happened with my stint at crewing for Success
Hmm.
Gyan's Train the Trainer,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it happened like just this weekend. Okay, I
Wow.
was supposed to go there as a host. I had to be
Hmm.
there for something that I had to do. It was a particular role, and I'm not going to
Right.
share the details
Of
of
course.
it because, of
Sure.
course, you are just going there to crew. And
Right.
I went there with that intention. I thought I'm
Hmm.
going to give my 100%, which I think I
Hmm.
did.
Hmm.
But the reason why I was, oh, let's just do it this way. I went through the entire process. Okay,
Sure.
the first day everything happened. Second day everything
Hmm.
happened. I was
Hmm.
crewing normally. Everything was fine. I was just not
Hmm.
compromising anywhere. Okay,
mm,
when it come to doing that particular part,
mm,
um, I won't say I failed, but I
mm,
played my 100%,
mm.
like my version of 100%.
Right.
Yeah. But what
Wow.
they wanted was their version of 100%, which
Got
was
it.
200%. So I had to be, if
Wow.
I'm Diya, I had to be double Diya, maybe, like
Wow.
literally bigger and much more louder, right?
Right.
So I just couldn't do it. I thought I was
Wow.
doing my best. I was giving my
Mm,
shot. I was doing everything. But
mm,
that particular thing that I came for, it did not come through what I wanted to
wow.
be there for, right?
Mm,
And but they told me that you need to be there, be around crew, and give your
mm,
200% everywhere else in whatever responsibility. And usually
mm,
at that moment you're very vulnerable because you've come for
mm.
something, you didn't get it, you move forward,
Right.
right?
Mm,
But in that moment it was my testing. I was testing myself to see how I can
mm.
respond to that, because I
Right.
know that if you want to do something bigger, you're going to face this a lot. People are going
Mm.
to tell you
Yeah.
that you suck. People are going to tell you that you are bigger than this. They're going to tell you things. That doesn't make you not good enough. It doesn't make you
Yeah.
not capable. It's just that it kind of hurts you. Yes, of course, I have emotions. It's
Mm.
going to hurt me for that moment. But I was able to snap out of it in no time.
Wow.
And
Mm.
I think that's where the image, personality, personal development, and being congruent to what you're doing really helps
Mm.
there, right? And
Yeah.
I understood that I went there to serve. I went there to just give my all to
Sure.
those 200 people, and just
Mm.
be the best and just give them not the best, I
Mm.
mean, be the best self that I want to be, and
Mm.
just go and do it. And I love that aspect of
Mm.
serving. That's like it's
Wow.
like it gives me something. It opens up my heart.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when I went there and I got this, yes, I was upset for some time.
Mm.
But then I gave myself two choices. I said, option one, you either go down the spiral
Mm.
and feel bad about it, that this is what it is. It is what it is, and I'm not really good enough, and I can't
Mm.
train, I can't be on stage, all those etc. etc. Those
Mm.
things that you tell yourself. Or option two is look at this as an opportunity, as a stepping stone to do something bigger than what you're doing today.
Right.
Maybe there is something because there's always progress. One
Mm.
is I got to do that same role the previous
Mm.
day, maybe as a
Right.
supporting role, which is
Mm.
great, right? The next day I did not get it because somewhere maybe I was not stepping up my game. I was holding
Right.
myself back, which is okay. I mean, I'm ready to accept that. Of course,
Mm.
I do have these things that, will I be accepted again? Will I be considered
Mm.
again? All those things are normal, they will come back to you.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I feel that I don't think that's how it works.
Mm.
Because, if there are people who have been super successful in whatever they're doing, who have been able to
Mm.
see a journey of that, why can't I see
Mm.
that?
Right.
So this was like literally universe testing me about failures. And
Mm.
what would I see if something comes in, a challenge comes in, what do I see? It just happened like just this weekend.
Yeah.
And look at me,
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here right in front of you and talking about it. So I think
That's
somewhere,
powerful.
this is all about personality and image and,
Yes.
evolving.
Yes.
And yeah, that's one of the things
Mm.
I would like to share. Another thing I would like to share, which
Beautiful.
is I think I'm sure you would also relate with, was
Mm.
when I started doing free webinars, I had no sales. I thought I was doing a
Mm.
very good job, but I absolutely sucked at it. And,
Mm.
I look back and I'm like, okay, at least I started, but
Yeah.
there were no sales. There were no sales. There was
Mm.
no money. There was, I was just pumping in money into Facebook ads and
Mm.
doing things.
Mm.
So be it. Today it is where it is because of that. So
Mm.
yeah, these are the two
Mm.
things I can remember that's
Wow.
happened to me. Thank you
Amazing.
for sharing. It's really, I mean, thank you for asking me to share this because
Sure.
I mean, it's very hard to sometimes just keep it in. You want to just let it out.
Yeah.
This was the
Yeah.
best way to do it.
Yeah. And I like listening to you right now. This is really, really a blessing in so many ways. Like really, like soaking this in right now because what you shared right now, you didn't plan it. One, and you remember we have this tradition where we set an intention before we actually do the podcast. And this ties in so powerfully because for people listening to you, now there may be people who'll, who'll watch it, this week or in the next week or two. There'll also be people who watch this, 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, and they will know you at such a deep level where that you've already been on this journey for the last 5 years and a little more, right? In the way of sort of
Yeah.
like learning the
It's yeah,
skills and
yeah, yeah.
applying it in a certain way.
Yes.
So you've literally like set that path for them, that hey, I'm amazed that Dia was able to be so vulnerable and so present, and literally, even as you were speaking, whatever was coming up, you were just being present to it and sharing it in the moment. And this becomes their guiding light,
Yes.
that if
That is
Dia can
the
do it, go ahead.
that is the intention because
Yep.
I'll be honest, Rahul. I think it's gone are the days where you need to wear a mask
Hmm.
and show up in a certain way. So what if you have 5 years, 10 years, 15 years of experience? Our
Mm-hmm.
mentors themselves remove their masks and share their
Mm.
adversities. I mean, I'm not saying because my mentor shared, I'm sharing. No, it's not like
Sure.
that. I mean,
Hmm.
might have had a conversation with my mentor and said, this is what has happened and what do I do about it? If I had done
Hmm.
this 5 years ago, probably I would have not been able to take it the way I'm taking
Hmm.
it today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
5 years later, when I'm actually seeing myself, I'm just saying that wow, I could actually
Yeah.
respond to it in a better
Yeah.
way, which is more
Yeah.
healthy. It is more
Hmm.
healing, and it also helps other people also see
Yeah.
how they can respond in the right way.
Hmm.
So, I've seen a lot of people who have, they just did one webinar and they said, yeah, I didn't get any sales. And then
Hmm.
they blame it on the funnel or on the
Hmm.
strategy. I'm like,
Hmm.
listen, guys, that's not how it works.
Hmm.
Any strategy, they're freely available. Any marketing
Right.
sales strategy is freely available. And I say this
Yeah.
even in my webinars. But
Hmm.
there is only one you. There
Hmm.
is only one you. There's nobody who can be like you. So
Hmm.
any marketing strategy you pick and put it, it's there in front of you in the market. But
Hmm.
how you do it and how you take it forward is up to you.
Hmm.
So
Right.
you have that responsibility to make it work for yourself. So if
Hmm.
you're going to tell me that one webinar में एक sale हो गया नहीं तो it happened in terms of zero sales or people left, yeah, I
Hmm.
mean I faced it, and there are days I
Hmm.
also still face it, but that's
Sure.
also because it's one of those bad days. But
Hmm.
I look at it this way, that it's a journey and we have to move forward. We don't
Hmm.
drown ourselves in that.
Hmm. True. Very
So
true.
that's how it is.
Amazing. Amazing. Hmm. So at this point, and I've heard, and so usually I ask the question a little differently for most people, but this is something that I know is very, very close to you. And we'll maybe talk about that in a moment. But for now, this part, like you've mentioned the word mentor several times, right? So I'd love for you to share um, what the role of a mentor has played in your life, um, and it's sort of like maybe the evolution of the the mentors that have like come into your life. Let's say, oh, maybe the last 5 7 years, I guess, but at least let's say the last 5 years, and you're welcome to sort of start on your timeline what feels natural. So basically, it's like this is what was happening to me, and this is when a mentor entered, and then this is how my life evolved.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you can answer it in any way. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thinking my thoughts out clearly so that you are clear about my question. So
Yeah. So you're saying that how have these mentors really helped me see growth or see the world
So
or
what's your journey been? Because to
yeah,
you have these mentors that are very actively there in your life. And
yes,
of course, because we know each other, I know that you have different mentors that
yeah,
are, playing different roles in
yeah,
your life.
yeah,
So especially because we're talking about people who want to create that impact, people who
yes,
want to grow beyond their present
yes,
self, right?
yes,
And so in that context, like, what has the role of the mentor? Yeah, that's it. That's the, you got
Okay.
it.
So the role of course, the most active mentors that I have right now, I think the role is that while they change and they embrace
Mm,
change, I have learned to embrace
mm,
change too. So,
right.
there was a point in my life in 2019,
Mm,
20. I would say, okay, if this is how my mentors, this is how it's going to be for the rest of my life.
right.
I never used to think that they are also going to change as individuals,
Mm,
right? And they are also going to open up. While that, I will also be inspired and open up because your mentor is
mm,
somebody who inspires upon you, who tells you, who
mm,
guides you, who does many things for you to go and take
mm,
action. So while I saw my mentors growing and evolving and building themselves up,
mm,
I was seeing
mm.
myself also in that process. So it was literally like
Nice.
mirroring. I think a mentor
Mm,
is more like a mirror. Like
right.
somewhere you connect with that person, you look
Mm,
them in the eye, and you know that they are also going through their own things, and you're
right.
also going, but they are maybe two steps ahead of you, and
Mm,
they are guiding you from what their experience is, and you are
mm,
reflecting the same thing, and you are doing that for your mentees. So it's like
right.
it's like while they were changing. So over the years, I've seen one of my most important mentors, who he has been. He started like, I mean, and I can just say the name Siddharth. He's one of the
Sure.
main
Mm,
mentors in my life.
mm-hmm,
Of course, Blair
mm-hmm,
Singer is there, but
mm-hmm,
as I was seeing him grow, I was growing too.
mm,
Whether it was actively or passively, it doesn't have to be that I have to
mm,
be always available there. Like I saw
right.
him go through his this thing openly. I went through mine.
Mm,
So it's like it was like a
mm,
win-win, at least in my
right.
case. Like
Mm,
somewhere
mm,
there's guidance, somewhere there is
right.
he's walking the talk, somewhere there are mistakes, somewhere there are errors, and it's okay. You're a human being.
Mm,
You have to accept that your mentor is not perfect. There are going to be some
mm,
aspects, and it's a relationship.
mm,
So that connection I saw, of course, with
mm,
Blair Singer and with all the other people whom I associate myself. Of course, I have
mm,
few more mentors who I also associate a lot with.
mm,
For them also, while they are growing their businesses, their brands, their life, I'm also
mm,
growing with them because I know
right.
that somewhere I'm not going to have this boundary or this barrier saying that no, they were like that, so why have they changed now?
Right.
A simple
Mm,
example would be that what a mentor would believe, like say 3 years ago, maybe he doesn't believe the same
right.
right now.
Right.
Okay, so
True.
that's happened,
True.
and I've been okay to accept that for myself
Mm,
as well, because earlier I used to say
yeah.
something, and then
Mm,
after a point I've started saying something else with regards to
right.
that, and I think it's okay
Mm,
because you're evolving and learning while you do that.
mm, mm.
So I hope I was able to,
No,
kind of
absolutely.
put it
Absolutely.
in like perspective there.
Yeah. So if I'm drawing from that, one is, like you said, the open mindedness as someone
Yes.
who, if you are seeking a mentor, just remember to keep an open mind,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you're seeking somebody who has something or is representing something that you don't already have, but that you want in your life, right?
Yes.
And so, in their quest that they are on, meaning that they are also seeking something in their life to be more of, they will change. And so therefore keep an open mind, because as they change, their perspective on life, or their perspective on, in this case, let's say, specific to, say, marketing or selling, could change and can
Yeah.
change. And so when they uh, mold or modify their philosophy, be open to that, updated philosophy, shall we say, right? And from what you're sharing, it's a lot seems to be, one is of course in the sales and marketing side of it,
Yes.
and the other is in the context of serving, or, it's like saying, that expression of sales as a service, right?
Yes.
So meaning that when you're actually selling something to somebody,
Yeah.
say your client, when you do it with the intention of being in service of them, then it changes the way that you interact with them. It
Yes.
changes
Absolutely.
your energy, and of course it
Yeah.
changes their energy also,
Everything.
because
Everything. And I
everybody's had go ahead.
yeah, I feel somewhere, if we are not evolving and
Hmm.
understanding the way we think and the way they think, we are blocking certain energies
Hmm.
which actually allow us to grow and become bigger. So I would say accept your mentor's growth, accept your
Hmm.
growth. It
Hmm.
becomes a very good mirror of growth and
Hmm.
success that will help you
Hmm.
impact.
Hmm. That's beautiful because listening to you right now, I'm actually reminded of one of those experiences that I had had. This is like way back 2019. And someone said this. So rather than quoting, I'll put it this way. Someone said that, when you see somebody on stage who is being a certain way, right? And you are drawn to that, or you really sort of like it really connects with you in a very, very deep way. It actually is like you're seeing yourself, but from the future. And
Yes.
so so it's like you use the word modeling. It's like you're, therefore, as you continue to stay in that space, and to allow yourself to grow into that next version of you, which could be one version of them. It'll not be a copycat. In fact, that's what I'm
Yes.
sure you also experience. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a very powerful frame for most coaches, healers, or anybody who really wants to change who they are into more of who they're meant to be, right?
Yes, and
Um,
I wouldn't add to the whole
mm-hmm,
experience that I went through at
mm-hmm,
my crewing stint over here,
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm,
last weekend.
mm-hmm,
I also looked at it this way, that in a way it's good that I did not get that opportunity on that
mm,
day particularly,
yes. Yeah.
because I was able to shadow the person who has already done it
Mm,
a couple of times. And when I was able
right.
to shadow her, my energy came
Mm,
up, and I was able to radiate that same energy in the room as well, and
got it.
everyone noticed it. So
Beautiful.
it was also a way to see. I could have definitely pulled myself down and said, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I could have said
Right.
that, I'm not made for the stage. To hell with that
Mm,
thought. Seriously,
mm,
it is
mm,
about, it is a journey.
yeah.
And when you do that, when you understand it's a journey, you become bigger than what
Mm,
you are.
yeah.
And that
True.
is the beauty of it.
Mm,
So, yeah,
yeah.
I'm
Very
ready to
powerful.
coach anybody on my adversities.
Isn't that the truth? You
Yeah,
know,
it is. Everyone goes through it. Yeah, I mean, there's no one size fits all. Nobody
yeah.
gets it
Yeah.
overnight. People
Yeah.
are practicing non-stop. We work hard behind the scenes. Who said there's
Yeah.
no hard work? Whoever said there's no hard work is absolutely lying to others and lying to
Exactly.
themselves.
Yeah.
We have to. We have to show
Mm-hmm.
up and
Mm-hmm.
be able to take those thresholds and pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. I'm reminded of two things actually. One, I was watching this podcast yesterday about, it's like a writing masterclass. And one of the exercises, and I remember hearing this many, many years ago, even in the context of hypnosis, right? If you want to be a good fill in the blank, you could be a good presenter on stage, you could be a good hypnotist, you could be a good professional, whatever it be. One of the ways is where you copy what people have already done, but by that I mean you literally copy it word for word.
Hmm.
So like in theater, they call it shadowing, right? So you
Yeah,
literally
shadow. Yeah.
are in that space, and the person who's supposed to be up on stage, projecting themselves a certain way, you're in the closest space, therefore shadowing, as the expression goes. Or if you want to write something really good, you take somebody's work that you really are inspired by, but you write every single word the way it's been written, and
Yeah.
you do that as a writing exercise,
Hmm.
right? It's such a powerful frame. Unfortunately, it's so quote unquote simple that most of us don't do it,
Don't
right?
do it.
You want to write a hypnotic script, you take the script that's already there, which is a good one, and then you just literally write it word for word for word, right? And that kind of puts you into a state, right? And now we're kind of like moving into that space, which is my favorite, which is everything to do with hypnosis and altered states. So it's beautiful that you were able to have that experience and do it in a way where, like you said, you had two choices. You
Hmm.
could have said, to hell with this, right?
Yeah.
Chuck it all. I don't need this. Like, who
Yeah.
needs this? That's one way, sort of like the petulant teenager, as they say. Or you could sort of like, steel yourself, like strengthen yourself by by every moment choosing either to tune out or tune in even more to
Yes.
somebody that is like it's one version of that bigger version of you,
Yes.
right? And I mean, I can already sense that, every one of these experiences, um, it's shaping you into that. So because when you say impact creator, then you're truly living that every single moment,
Yes. I
right?
am.
And you're
I am
just
because
growing in
and
stature,
I
as they say.
yeah, I
Go
feel
ahead.
it's like how they say, right? How you do anything, how you do everything. It's
Yes.
like how you show up here,
Yeah.
you show up there. And
Yeah.
of course, I mean, of course, I when I was upset about that one experience, I
Hmm.
did I did think for a moment that is this how I show up in my life? And
Mm.
then I answered the question myself. I said, no, I show up bigger than this. But
Yeah.
of course, it just depends on your version of 100% versus
Yes.
another person. So you also got to
Yes.
trust your journey and trust the
Hmm.
fact that you have come a long way. It's not that, because they said you're not fit for this, that doesn't mean
Mm.
that I'm not fit for the stage.
Yeah.
So it's just that. And I
Yeah.
believe that I am made for the stage, that
Yes.
that is who I am. I am made for
Yeah.
the stage. Anything to do,
Yeah.
I will go on and talk. But
Yeah. And
of course, there are bigger things to do.
of
So,
course, of
yeah.
course. For the record, I'm reminded of, I think this was within that first conversation ever that we had. It
Yes.
was at lunchtime. Probably it was day two or maybe day one. It's all a
Yeah.
blur at this point, but it was at lunchtime. That part is very clear. You and I were chatting, and you kind of echoed this sentiment even then. That you're
Oh,
literally like you've been made for the stage, right? Um, so I'm not surprised that you're right now at this point in your journey having these experiences. Like I said, for somebody who's hearing this and who sees that version of Diya from like 2025 and 26, for them it's a rare treat.
yeah.
Because it's like in your being vulnerable and showing up as you 100% even now, and that 100% and this 100% will have that sort of whether it's a steep climb, like she shot up in those 2 years, or whether it's that ascent that you're making. Regardless, you've you've literally sort of quote unquote like proven your point that it is all about being present. It is all about creating that impact every moment,
Yes.
right?
Every bit,
and
every
and
moment.
and like this to me, it reminds me of literally like why I do what I do. Like this for me is my way of making um, making the energy available for people in a way that will reach them, because I truly believe in whether you call it the universe, whether you call it right place, right time, or that, what is that old expression, when the student is ready the master will appear, right?
Yeah.
So for people, they get to hear your message like this in the most appropriate at the right time way. And I know it's really going to create a deep impact in their lives. um and for all you might have a somebody who's being mentored by you saying, do you know, Dia, actually I saw you first there.
Hmm.
I won't be surprised if that happens. And this is like my way of telling the universe, you heard me right. So make sure it happens, because I know it'll happen.
It's 100%
So
happening.
yeah, exactly, right.
It's all
so
on
so
you.
th-
That's all
now
the way.
so this kind of reminds me of the second part, which is one of my pet subjects, if you want to call it that, which is the power of community, right? I say this from my own story, because for many years I didn't build community. But of course, finally, when the penny dropped, I was like, okay, I get it. Now for the rest of my life, I'm focused on building community, right? That's sort of like my one of my foundation stones, or the plinths as they call it, right? So it's not about me, it's about you, right? So
Yeah.
what's your story, what's your journey like in the context of community?
Hmm.
One, in the sense of the community that you're a part of, and two, more importantly, the community that you are in the process of building,
Yeah.
right? What's that like?
Yeah. So I'll start with what I'm part of.
Hmm.
See, so I understood the concept of community I mean,
Mm.
of course, I was part of the community, like my mentors' community and other communities. I was part of it, but then I did not really understand the essence of it in my initial
Mm.
stages of being online and taking
Mm.
things forward. I would always think that yeah, okay, fine, people are meeting, people are connecting, all that. You get to network, you get to do all
Yeah.
those different things.
Yeah.
But when it started evolving into a purpose, when it started evolving
Mm.
into bigger than just being there, that's when
Right.
I started seeing a lot of change in the way people are and the way a community
Mm.
works. Now, when I
Mm.
was in the nascent stages of building an online business or, like going online and building an impact, I had started
Mm.
my own community, which is, of course, design
Mm.
and I'm sure you know that. So it started with,
Mhm.
just two people, three people, five people, 10
Mm.
people. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, I'm doing what I see,
Mm.
following the
Mm.
herd and following people and seeing that okay, this is how my community needs to grow.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's how it started. I was never 100% sure that this is how I
Mm.
want to grow it. I was never 100% like okay, this is how design your presence is going to be. I did have a code, I did have a vision, a mission, everything I had, but
Mm.
somewhere inside me, as I told you, I was not connecting much with it. I was connecting,
Mm.
but not at that level, right?
Mm.
Not at that higher
Mm.
power level, right? But I was there.
Mm.
I was there. I was like, yeah, okay, somewhere it's going to come out, the message is going to come out,
Correct.
and people are going to
Correct.
connect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how the whole community building thing started with me.
Mm.
And when I was going through the transition stage from designer
Mm.
presence to Pack Creators Club, I did question
Mm.
myself many times that okay, should I really open a company? Should I really continue building this community, or should I just do it,
Mm.
wherein I just work with people one on one and do
Right.
a customized approach and get things done.
Mm.
So I was
Mm.
in this, this phase where I was just figuring things out, and I was like,
Mm.
maybe I should not let that go,
Mm.
because that is something that I have built in the last 2, 3 years. And now
Mm.
this is something, if I want to be growing, maybe the people
Mm.
who really resonate with me, they will stick with me. And that's
Right.
exactly what's happening. It's an 80-20
Mm.
rule. So 80% of the
Mm.
people are sticking with me, 20% have just let go. They said, we
Mm.
don't want to do this, which is fine with me.
Mm.
I'm absolutely fine with it.
Mm.
So that was where the transition was a time when I understood the power and the depth
Mm.
of having a community, because it's not just you who can do it alone. There's a mission.
Right.
That
Wow.
mission is to build impact creators in every
Mm.
industry, in every space around the world, around India to start with, of course.
Mm.
Because in our country, we have people coming from different walks of life.
Mm.
And we have people with different growth opportunities, different
Mm.
success stories. We have people who
Right.
have, different goals. It's not just about making
Mm.
3 lakhs and 2 lakhs and 1 lakh and 1
True.
crore and all. I don't talk about
Mm.
those numbers. I talk about what do we really require to do over here as people.
Mm.
So that's when my leadership started changing a little bit, wherein I went
Mm.
deeper into my mission, went deeper into my vision, into what the intent of the entire group is. We changed the code of
Mm.
honor. We had like there were a lot of things that evolved, and that's when my community started seeing that it goes deeper
Mm.
than just networking with each other. There is
Right.
something called contribution. There's something
Mm.
called showing up, consistency.
Mm.
So all
Mm.
that. So when I started practicing that, I was also seeing it in my mentors community. I was also seeing it in other
Mm.
communities where how people
Mm.
get together and do the work. And
Right.
let's be honest, we are human beings. We can't do this alone.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on this
Mm.
mission to help people, in my case, become impact
Yeah.
creators, to get
Yeah.
the growth they want, to get
Mm.
the
Mm.
fulfillment in their
Mm.
lives, we need to have a community that thrives, lives, breathes that.
Mm.
And that's when I said it's not about me, it's about them. And
Mm.
if I'm able to be the guiding light for them, wherein I'm able to tell
Mm.
them that this is how things need to move forward,
Mm.
then so be it. That's how I'm going to grow the community. So now
Right.
today, whether there was a point I used to tell myself, yeah, they have thousands of people, I have like hundreds of people. I would keep comparing, and I'm like,
Right.
am I good enough to run a community?
Mm.
And then there's another voice of mine which says that you have hundreds of people. There's a reason why you have hundreds of people. It's
Mm.
because those hundred of people, they resonate with you, number one. Look at
Right.
it this way, that each of them is going through their own
Mm.
story in this process. Don't
mm,
look at the numbers. It's like looking at the number of
mm,
followers on Facebook or Instagram.
mm,
Don't do
mm,
that. I start liking myself a lot. I start holding myself back and saying, it's okay if my
mm,
community is in hundreds. It's fine. Those are the
mm,
people who are the quality people who are coming in and they live
right.
by this mission.
Mm,
And that's how I started like moving towards that and going in that journey. And that's how I could see a
right.
community grow and develop.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, it takes a lot. Even just
Oh, yeah.
hearing you, it's like what's coming to mind is it takes a lot to be able to withstand those conversations that you have with yourself, and to be able to siphon, or sort of like panning for gold. You're able to do it in a way where you know that something good is coming of it, and you're being patient till that comes, right?
Yeah.
And once it comes, then you're really like locking into it. And that's why, because it sounds very easy, like from the outside, for people hearing it, it sounds easy, but it takes a lot of presence to be able to go, no, this really means something. And that, I'm meant to be here for these people and hold this space for these, like you said, for the hundreds of people, because it's your own inner, sense of being able to create that impact, that sense of presence, that is able to, grow it to the hundred, to the hundreds. And when you look at, something I discovered at the beginning of this year, which is to zoom out.
Hmm.
When things get tough, or not even tough, when they get overwhelming, tough is, that's the easy part. It's the overwhelming, which is when, sort of
Yeah.
like, it's
It's
like, the most of us cannot naturally swim in water, right?
Yeah, it's so
Most of
true. I
us,
mean,
right?
um,
So,
it's
so
like it's normal to be overwhelmed. It's
yes,
normal to be stressed. It's normal to be
yes,
emotional about the
yeah,
journey. Like there are
yeah,
days. I mean, nobody's perfect. There are days wherein
mm-hmm,
I do question what I'm doing, but
yeah,
what do I choose after that?
yes,
And okay, if I'm looking at a journey, they say that they do it one step at a time. Okay, now
mm,
each step that I'm doing, I'm moving forward, right?
mm,
But
mm,
when you look at the bigger picture, those problems, those days where
yeah,
you were underestimating or where you were overwhelmed or whatever will be like
yeah,
maybe barely about 1% in
yeah,
the entire journey,
yeah,
or maybe
exactly,
5% in the entire journey. It is
yeah,
more the 95% of what you have done, how you have
yes,
grown, how you have shown
yeah,
up. You have
yeah,
you have made mistakes and learned from them.
mm,
That's where I look at it and like, no, you know what? I think you're bigger than this.
yeah,
And
exactly,
that's how you go ahead and do it.
yeah, right. So having that ability to be able to zoom out is something that I can hear you, and I can sense that that's something that you have honed, and it's not a one-off thing. You're like, as you discover new things and new obstacles, you're like honing your skill even more to be able to
Yes.
deal with that, right?
Yes.
So really, really powerful. So two questions at this point. One is, in the context of the program that you're currently running, that you feel, like, yeah, people listening, this is something that will be most appropriate for them. Because I know, I mean, of course, I will share your links. They will be in the podcast, and of course, even on the live, at the end of the live, I will be sharing the links so people can find you through, your Linktree links. But if you were to say, yeah, okay, there's this one or the two programs that I genuinely feel like, this is something that's going to help people. So, tell us a little bit about it. And of course, uh, what was sort of like the antecedents, like what inspired the program to kind of come to life?
Yeah. So, so basically, I run a couple of programs. One is, of course,
Mm-hmm,
the Ultimate Impact Program, which is a 2 day
mm-hmm,
intensive. And
mm-hmm,
that's where I guide people on how to work on different areas of their impact. So it's
mm-hmm,
not just about the image. There are six
mm,
areas that I see
mm,
that would, help a person build their impact. So the six
mm,
areas are personal impact, professional impact, voice impact, online impact, that's digital,
mm,
transformational impact, and leadership impact.
mm,
If you have these
mm,
six working hand in hand, and it's not that, okay, I'm a leader, that means I'm there yet. I'm there, I'm done.
mm,
It's not that. The
Mm.
idea is to work on these in more depth so that
Mm.
there is an intention, there is a mission that is bigger than yourself
Right.
that you want to work for,
Mm.
right? So that's how I work it, and I don't want to be too abstract about it. We're going to be plain and simple. This is a 2 day program wherein
Mm.
we work on all these areas. So there is an
Mm.
entire process that I go through. Like say for personal impact, we have how to build your image and how to
Mm.
show up in front of an audience, your presentation, and
Mm.
what are some of the techniques that you can use to actually look
Mm.
and feel attractive and look good
Mm.
and to
Mm.
have that self image that kind of
Mm.
radiates out there, right? So
Mm.
that's one. Then, of course, if I give you an example of a transformational impact, it's about building the
Mm.
resilience and mindset. Like,
Mm.
like I said, that 2019, your growth mindset doesn't mean that it continues being the growth mindset. You
Right.
have to let go and you have to be ready to grow
Mm.
from the growth mindset.
Mm. Mm.
Evolve into something else. So that's when I built that I said, transformation
Mm.
impact is something that's very, very important for people to understand.
Mm.
Because they should not say that, yeah, I've arrived and I'm there.
Mm.
2019, I built a business, I'm there and I'm going to stick with that. So you build a
Right.
resilience and mindset through transformational impact. And of course,
Mm.
if you look at even say things like digital impact and voice impact, it's all about connection,
Mm.
authority building.
Mm.
It's about, it's not about acing a social media platform. No, it's about
Mm.
really going and putting your voice there wherever you go, and impacting.
Right.
So it's not just
Mm.
about, okay, I need these many followers. No, it's about actually
Right.
going there and talking to 100 people or 1,000 people or 1,000
Mm.
people and getting them inspired. How many ever
Mm.
followers you have. Like one of my clients, she barely has, I think she has about 2,000 followers maybe on Instagram,
Mm.
but she's
Mm.
impacted more than 400 clients globally.
Wow.
Yeah, that is
Amazing.
both through one-on-one and group, of course. So
Wow.
she's done it in
Yeah.
different modalities. It's not just that.
Mm.
She's also into,
Sure.
mindset and hypnotherapy
Mm.
and all that. So she's been doing that
Sure.
for a while. But when she
Mm.
built this and when she was able to build an impact, she saw a lot of
Mm.
changes when she was doing things.
In fact, just to pause
So
you here,
yeah.
I would be circumspect, or I would be doing a disservice not only to you but to your client as well. I don't know where this crept in for most of us, especially in this space of wanting to coach and to genuinely share that ability to be able to heal, the pain that people are going through. Right. So when we talk about healers, or for that matter, even coaches, the way I look at it, a good coach is a healer,
Hmm.
right? And a good healer is also a coach because they know what questions to ask,
Yes.
right? The difference is possibly a healer has very specific modalities, but a
Hmm.
coach is using the power of listening and questions as their sort of their uh, what's that, brahmastra, right? So it's
Hmm.
like for them it's really being present. For healers, there's an added advantage of, okay, I like, sound healing or hypnosis or whatever it is that they have found has made an impact in their life, and now they are able to use that as a way to create change.
Yes.
But you said something very, very powerful, which is, it's not that word not is something that I truly believe we need to take out of our vocabulary. Meaning, or not even not, it's the word just. Just 400 people, or just 50 followers, or just 10 views. What we are failing to recognize in the short run, because we haven't seen the long run yet, right?
Hmm.
You don't know who those 10 people are, who are the 10 views, or who those 50 followers are, or those 400 people who have experienced what someone is doing today. You don't know that impact.
Hmm.
But in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years, and in 10 years, that is truly when you will know, whoa, these people showed up. And at that time, when I was doing the webinar, only 10 people
Hmm.
bought, right?
Yeah.
In quotes. But that power is over the course of time,
Yes.
and somewhere I have a feeling, it's just my philosophy, my theory, in this hurry for people to achieve, we are forgetting that we are creating deep, deep, deep impact pretty much on a daily basis,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Like you said, showing up, being present, and then holding that space for other people is something that is so literally it's invaluable that we don't actually even pause to recognize the true value, the power of what we're doing,
Yeah,
right?
it's so
So
true.
I'm just saying I just had to pause you here, because you said something, because that really is, that is the essence of this, what we are
Yes.
talking about, that we don't actually know how much of good we are putting out into the world,
Yeah,
right?
it's so true.
Until it's sort of like, it comes full circle when someone is like, that day I saw you doing that, or I heard you saying this, or I attended this program, and it actually saved my life, or it forget my life, it made a big impact in my family's life, right?
Yeah,
We don't know that yet. That's the only missing piece at this point.
yeah, true. Very true.
So,
Very true.
right?
And
So like you said, one was the 2 day
yeah,
intensive.
and the other,
uh
of course, I do have currently I'm offering, I don't know, maybe if somebody's hearing this years later, I don't know where it's going to evolve. Have evolved already, but right now I'm offering something called the Ultimate Impact Mastery Certification, which
mm,
also I give for people who sign up for my one-on-ones. So
mm,
if they come for my one-on-one, it's a customized approach. Of course, it's more personalized because I think in image and personality, everyone's got different skills to work
mm,
on, different parts
mm,
to work on. It's not a one size fits all. So I have to be okay to take up customized coaching,
mm,
which that's
mm,
what my topic is, closely connected. So when they take that up, I give them also UIM, which is Ultimate Impact Mastery. That's currently what I'm doing.
mm,
And that certification empowers people to train or to teach or to coach or to even
mm.
apply the same concepts in their life as well and with their
Right.
clients as well. So
Mm.
that way, the word spreads. And of course, it's
Yeah.
called the Impact Creator Certification, which
Mm.
currently does not exist in India. It's just
Right.
me
Yeah.
handling it, me doing everything, and of course, making it
Mm.
personalized and
Mm.
in terms of people who are really, really interested to take
Mm.
this forward and impact a lot of people.
Right.
So these are my two
Beautiful.
things. I keep it very, very
Mm.
simple. I do have my online courses. I do have, a library of content which, people can go and
Mm.
subscribe
Mm.
to. It's on learn.impactcreatorsclub.com. I do
Nice.
have, things where people are learning flexibly. We have a WhatsApp
Mm.
community. So
Mm.
there are a lot of things, but of course, these are the two things that, I stand
Correct.
for. And
Mm.
yeah, that's how I help them.
Nice. Mm. So listening to you, and I know this is something that you can definitely share a lot about because you experienced it firsthand. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about recognition, right?
Hmm.
In the context of, especially coaching, healing, people wanting to be noticed, recognition in the, again, framing it in that, like one is, of course, the awards, two is being recognized by people, right?
Hmm.
It could be communities, it could be, uh, yeah, I guess if you, even if you just use these two frames, right? One is being recognized by communities, and two is, of course, um, it's like being awarded for contribution, right?
Hmm.
So I'd love
Hmm.
for you to share this because I know it's very, very close to what you're talking about and you're teaching people.
When it comes to recognition. So I believe that recognition is
Hmm.
always going to be, it's always about being organic and being open about it.
Hmm.
So, it's not that you're trying to force. I see a lot of people who try and get recognized in forums that they don't resonate with. And,
Hmm.
then I also see people who are in forums where they do resonate and then they get recognized. So when we talk about
Hmm.
recognition, it really is your perspective. It's how you see it.
Hmm.
But to be very
Hmm.
honest, recognition everybody wants. Everybody wants to
Right.
be heard, everyone wants to be
True.
noticed, everyone wants to be
True.
seen. So I think
Hmm.
it's how you do it and how you go put your point across, which makes people
Hmm.
recognize you. So
Hmm.
that's one thing which I truly believe in. Also, when we talk about recognition, I also see a lot of people doing PR and paid
Hmm.
PR and all that, and then we
Hmm.
also have like an entire side of the scam part of PR, the scamming part of PR, wherein people will say, you come, we'll recognize you, we'll give you an award on stage, and then there are a lot
Mm.
of hidden payments that you have to suddenly
Mm.
wake up to. So there are, it's how you do it. That's why I say organic,
Mm.
because the more you show
Right.
up for your people,
Mm.
the more the recognition will come in. The recognition,
Right.
I think I had quoted, I'm going to quote one of my mentors. Actually, my
Mm-hmm.
mentor told me that he said that. So basically, the other mentor said this. So he just said
Right.
one thing: the magic is not in your horses, the magic is in the people around you. And
Mm.
when the people are talking about you, that's when you're
Mm.
recognized. And even if it
Right.
means that it's a small number, there's no number that is a
Mm.
small number. Actually, I would like to rephrase that and say that there's,
Right.
even a 5 is a big number, even a 10 is a big
Yeah.
number. But it
Mm.
really makes it the end result is that have you been able to impact them in whatever way.
Mm.
And it doesn't
Sure.
have to be about how much money they make. It's about,
Mm.
our life is not just about making money. It is also
Mm.
about confidence. It's also about, was I
Mm.
able to show up? Was I able to build my
True.
personality? Was I able
True.
to, run my life the way I want to run? There
Mm.
are so many things that you can
So
use
true.
as,
Mm.
as ways to
Mm.
get recognized.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I feel. Recognition is more like
Mm.
an organic thing, and of course, good paid PR is always welcome. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you should invest. It's a part of the brand card. It's part of
Sure.
going and putting your point out there.
Mm.
But
Mm.
you got to filter it as well, because
Mm.
not everybody's having that intention of giving you good paid
Mm.
PR. And I've been through that, made a lot of
Mm.
mistakes, and I know how
Right.
it feels.
Yeah. 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 That's so important because it it kind of reminds me of what you said a little while back, that flexibility is important, and when you know blend that with authenticity,
Hmm.
meaning that any brand, it's like saying, should one do paid ads or not, right? If you want to build a brand and you want to grow a brand, meaning you want to do Facebook ads, for example, if you're planning to build a business, yes, definitely you're going to be investing in ads, right?
Yeah.
Whether it is to build your brand, whether it is to to get leads in. At the end of the day, it's like, if as a brand, if you're not able to generate enough leads, uh, that sort of can become one of those reasons why the brand or why your company had to finally wind up.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sharing this with you from personal experience, that um, this is a lot about mindset, right? If we aren't willing to grow our brand through multiple means, but again, keeping in mind that you want to keep quality as being one of the criteria,
Yes,
uh, you know
absolutely.
it's important,
Yeah.
right?
Quality
I
is
mean,
like magnet. It's just that.
yes,
It's
yes.
I connect it to, being magnetic. If you want
Mm,
to be a magnetic personality, you want to be somebody who's recognized just by the
correct.
way you are, the way you want to be, or way you prefer to
Mm,
be,
yeah.
then quality comes first. It's not the
Mm,
quantity. And I
yeah.
always say, I mean, though it might sound very cliched for people who are listening to this, but
Mm,
of course, quality over quantity in any doubt. I mean,
mm,
if you have like 1,000 members who are following you, but you don't run a quality, there's nothing
correct.
qualitative about it,
Yeah.
it's soon going to dwindle. But if you
Yeah.
have 100 people and you are giving your all, where
Mm,
you're not compromising on any aspect of
mm,
how they
mm,
experience. Of course, you're going to have one or two dropouts. Not
mm,
everybody will align with you. That's okay. But
mm,
that doesn't question your quality.
mm.
There are still 90 people, there are still 95 people who are
Yeah.
following you and have
Yeah.
seen the quality. So that's
Mm,
when you become magnetic.
mm.
So, yeah,
True.
that's how you get
Very true.
recognized.
Beautiful. Yeah. So as we start to, as they say, so one of my earliest podcasts that I really connected with is this podcast by Rich Roll, right?
Ah,
So full credit to him. So this is one of the expressions that I've heard, and I've made it a point to kind of incorporate it into into my pods as well, which is like, as they say, like as we get ready to land the plane,
Yeah.
uh, I'd love for you to share. So one is, like I said, community. Like that is something that I really, really have discovered. It's one of those. It's almost like a silver bullet in building your brand, your um, longevity of what you're doing. Right? When you're doing it for community, when you're creating for community, it is something that will live on for a very long time, and
Yes.
for all you know, it becomes like a legacy. The other thing is, everything to do with mindset. And for me, I've been extremely blessed to have stumbled into NLP like way, way, way back. I'm talking like 17 years ago. So, in fact, even beyond that, but I started my journey in 2007, right? So, NLP or neuro linguistic programming was where like that kind of was one of those missing pieces. And then, of course, a few years down the line, that led me to hypnosis. And that combination is something that has just been helping me
Yeah.
um, you know, build what I do today. So I'm curious to know. One is, of course, if you've had any experiences, whether it is NLP, could be hypnosis, um, like if you attended or if you've been trained in it. Um, so that's one part of it, and then of course linking that to mindset, right? So
Mm.
what have been some of your experiences that you'd love to share?
So I mean, hypnosis not much, but of course
Mm-hmm.
NLP definitely,
Mm,
because as a trainer, it's mandatory to know a little bit about NLP.
mm,
I've
mm.
read a lot of books on it. I have done a lot of research on
Nice.
it, and I feel it is it's like the force of, it's like the heart and soul for anything that you want to do
Mm,
when it comes to
mm.
dealing with people. And we all are people centric. We all have services, products that are
Correct.
connecting with people, and we are connecting with
Yeah.
people on a daily basis, whether it's at home or at
Mm,
work or at
mm,
wherever we go. So I
mm,
feel NLP is very very important, especially connected to mindset, because I feel that
mm,
um, if you're not able to really understand how you think and how other people think, how will your
mm.
mindset grow at that level?
Yeah.
How will it grow and how will it
Mm,
reach that level? If you are not
mm.
able to reach there, how will you allow others to reach with you?
Right.
So that connection is where I see with NLP
Mm,
and the mind. And NLP teaches your mind. It actually trains your mind, or trains your
mm,
mind to think in a certain way, to believe in a certain way. Of course, your
mm.
mind is like this little friend which keeps telling you things in your mind. Like, I'll give you an example. Today, I woke
Okay.
up this morning, and I had a very very long day yesterday because I had just come back from Chennai, and
Mm,
we had a long flight, and I mean the
yeah.
flight got delayed and everything. So it's a
Oh,
40-minute flight from Chennai to Bangalore, but
right.
it took me 5 hours to reach home. Okay, I could have just taken a train
Wow.
and come. Yeah. But anyway, so that drained me out like big time. Okay, it drained me out.
Right.
And at the
Yeah.
same time, I said, okay, now I'm not worked out in a while. So I need to kind of,
Right.
figure how I can work out and what
Mm,
do I do. But there's this
mm,
mind chatter which keeps saying that no, Diya, you
mm-hmm.
traveled, you have been on your feet for the last 4 days.
Right.
You have pushed your body beyond a point. You have become
Mm,
absolutely
mm.
big, and your mind constantly. So I think you're good
Yeah.
to chill. You're good to relax. And every time this chatter was on my in my mind the whole of yesterday, and usually what I do
Right.
is I believe. Okay, I end up
Wow.
believing it. But
Wow.
this morning, my class was at 7:30. The class that I went for, I go for
Mm,
spinning
mm,
classes in Bangalore.
mm,
So
mm,
I went for this. At 7:30 was booked. Okay, and if you book
mm.
before you book it last. I mean, if you cancel it last minute, they charge you for it or whatever. But that was not the point.
Right.
The point was that
Mm,
I booked it because I think
mm,
somewhere my thought process was that
mm,
you're going for it, whatever it is.
mm.
You're going for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kept talking to my chatter. My chatter said, no, no, I think you can just chill, you can relax. Your
Mm,
body's
mm,
tired and everything. And then while that was happening, I kid
mm,
you not, I was actually getting ready to go for my workout.
mm.
I was actually getting
Wow.
ready I was changing, I was getting ready when
Right.
that whole thing was happening in my
Wow.
mind. And
Right.
it was like, like What's
Mm.
happening? I'm just gonna go. And then, at the
Right.
same time, I was like, okay, I'll just go, I'll see, I'll give my best, I'll go and, do whatever.
Mm.
I went there
Mm.
and I was in the zone. It was like I was
Wow.
literally on stage giving my
Oh,
200%,
wow.
going all out on
Beautiful.
that cycle.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's where I see, NLP mindset, everything
Yeah.
connects because
Yeah.
somewhere your
Yeah.
voice has to be trained to go and show
Mm.
up wherever you want to show up. So are
Yeah.
you going to? So I kept asking myself, am I going to give myself excuses that my body's tired, so I can't, progress anywhere
Mm.
else? I did that mistake there when that whole
Right.
episode happened. I did that
Yeah.
mistake. I kept complaining about my back pain and all
Yeah.
those things,
Yeah.
giving
Yeah.
excuses and excuses. But I didn't realize
Yeah.
that I was making a
Mm.
mistake by doing that because my mind was
Mm.
telling me that you are the problem, but the problem was not me. It was basically my
Mm.
intention there.
Mm.
I had to change the way I thought. That okay,
Right.
backache, fine. Tired, fine. Others also are fine and tired. They also have backaches
Mm.
and they are popping dolos and they're just going and showing up.
Mm.
So you go do the work. And that's
Mm.
where I did not do that. And that's why I said, here, I'm not gonna do that.
Wow.
And that's how
Amazing.
I went and I showed up.
So this is like a bonus. Uh, Let me know how it lands for you, and I'll share a story after this for a moment. Um, so the way you described it, and for me, this is sort of like the zone that I live in, right? The way you described it sounded like the circle of excellence. So for people who don't know what that means, to simplify it, it's like once you've programmed yourself to be a certain way. If you remember what Dia said was, the moment she was on the bike, it, when she said I was in the zone. It's like she was already on stage. So, so the point is, when you put something physical, in this case, it was the spin, right? Like you were on a bike and you
Yeah,
were riding, but in
yeah,
your mind, you were already on stage, right?
yes,
This is why, to use Tony Robbins' sort of his expression of state control is so important, right?
yeah,
The way we move our bodies shapes the way we and what we end up doing, right?
yes,
If we are only listening, yes, it's important to listen to our bodies, but like you said, our mind is like a little friend in quotes, very strong quotes.
it's a very good friend. They like to
Right,
play
because
safe.
that friend, little, it's like, say hello to my little friend. The little friend has this very powerful way of convincing us, no,
Yes,
okay, have that extra scoop of ice cream, or it's okay, do that exercise tomorrow, right? Today you can just lie here or not go, or whatever, like fill in the blank. So it's really, really, and thank you for sharing this, because like I said, like these are stories that genuinely move the needle for other people, right?
yes,
Because a lot of times, and I remember, so I had a guest on last, I think it was last week or maybe the week before. As you can tell, like today we're on episode 10, so we've like now things start to blend, right, in a beautiful way. But the point is, for a lot of people, when they watch us like this, it looks easy and it's hard at the same time.
yeah,
Meaning, they are like, okay, they're just talking, but in their minds, they're like, I can't do this, right?
yeah,
Until they hear that, we are humans. We've also been through uh, stuff, and on an ongoing basis, we're going through stuff. But it's that, when you find that purpose, when you find what you really are about, that becomes like one of those moments when you can turn your life around in any number of ways, and over and over and over again. It's never over. It's not like, I did it once, chalo, done. It's
yeah,
just the beginning, because from that point on, you will continue to discover more and more of those, sort of like something I remember learning way back from Vipassana, the sankharas, right? The impressions that we've picked up on, or the, whether it's something really good or really bad that
yeah,
we think about, and then we
yes,
want more of it or less of it,
yeah, so true.
right? But when we're able to do this, which is like you, exactly like you said it, you just showed up,
Yeah,
and you just got on the bike, and boom, you became this, that version of you that you're becoming more and more every day,
yeah,
right? It's
It's
really,
very
really
true.
powerful.
It comes from the heart. I mean, it's not.
Yes.
I mean, even when I
Yes.
was running Design Your Presence, the community, it was always from my head.
Yeah.
Very,
Mm.
very, a bit of my heart would come out, but it was more from my head.
Mm.
Do
Mm.
things, get stuff done.
Yeah.
Here, when
Yeah.
I'm doing from the space of my heart, I'm not only falling
Yes.
in love with the journey, I'm falling in love with myself,
Yes.
which is
So,
what, I know for a fact that I have some work to do over here, and there is some
yes.
contribution that
Yes.
needs to be done in this work.
Yes.
So,
Right?
yeah.
To quote my mentor, Richard Bandler, this is from a couple of years ago. At the end of like a grueling 5 day or 10 day, I forget which one it was. He looked out at us from the stage, right?
Hmm.
And he has this wry smile on his face, and he's like, needs work, right? Meaning that it's never over, right? We're always shaping and shaping and shaping.
See, and
And
it's never about, it's not been about personal, like now,
yes.
one of the people, one of the mentors who taught me that, at
Mm,
this entire stint, he said it's not personal, it's not about you,
mm,
it's not about your potential,
yeah.
it's not about,
Yeah.
you being good enough, but
Yeah.
there is a gear that you need to switch on,
Yeah.
and
So
that
true.
that gear is something you're protecting. So if you
Mm,
stop protecting that gear, then definitely anything that you want to do, it'll open up and it'll show up.
right.
So that was my takeaway, and that is a takeaway even for all the listeners, for everybody, that
Mm,
don't hold back, because when you
yeah.
hold back,
Mm.
you think you're doing it right, but you don't have to be politically right all the time. It's
Yeah.
okay to be a little crazy on the journey. It's
Mm,
okay to,
mm,
go a little insane. And,
mm,
I feel that it's okay to be obsessed, even if you
yeah.
are like, even if you're obsessed
Yeah.
with fitness, you're
Mm,
obsessed
mm.
with running a business, obsessed with making money, just do it, own it. There's no right or wrong over
So,
here.
so something you said right now, which is so powerful. Here's the thing, it's choice, okay?
Hmm.
For especially for those of you who are listening, and I know you already made the choice there, so I know you're already in our camp. But here's the thing: for people who genuinely want to create that impact, if they're choosing greatness, and I mean that, if you're choosing greatness, obsession comes with it,
Yeah, very true.
right? If you just want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that either,
Yeah,
right?
there's
If
nothing
you
wrong
want to
with
be in the 80%, which is, hey, I show up, I do,
it.
that's
Hmm.
fine. But if you want to be in that rarefied air of that 20% and that, 20% of the 20%, as they say,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
that 20% of the 20% will eventually where you're in that 1%. And if that's the journey that you genuinely want to do it to help more and more people, to help humanity, obsession is baked in, right?
yes, yes.
And hearing you say this over and over again, it's like there have been moments through our conversation today where it was a reminder to me why I do what I do today, like this, right? Um, I talk about hypnosis now only because I know that that's what I'm meant to do. For
Yes.
years and years and years, I didn't talk about it. I really couldn't figure out why. And the moments when I would, like you shared, in say your that phase of your journey where you were talking about design your presence, you had these moments, right, that peaked out
Yeah.
from the persona that was being projected, which was you. Today, you're
Yes.
all of that and then some, right? And you're literally just growing more and more in that light of who you are, right? So it's like when they say, shine your light, right?
Yeah,
I completely get what you're saying.
reminds me of something very, actually, is it okay if I'm a little open, a little,
Please,
um,
please,
doesn't sound a little pervert type, but let me just
100%.
so when I was doing this DYP, design your presence and all that, I was of course holding myself back a lot. I was
Mhm.
not going
Mm,
beyond that and all that. It was showing on
mm,
my face. All right, it was
mm,
showing on my face. I was not glowing. Okay, I was
mm,
just doing my bit and doing things, getting tired, doing it, fell in love with
mm,
it, didn't fall in love. I mean, fell off love with it. I mean, whatever you call it, or started, not liking the journey, all that.
mm,
When I went for this vigorous training last year, I think MTS,
mm,
okay,
mm.
and
Sure.
I went there, and on stage, okay, there was this one thing I had to do. I just did
Mm,
it, whatever. I just went ahead and did it, and that got me out. Okay, that literally pulled. It's like literally, pulled that
mm,
mask, those different masks, and the different things that I was holding back.
mm,
And you know what that mentor told me? That he told
mm.
me that you're glowing like you've just had sex. You're
Yeah.
that you're that fresh.
Yeah.
You're that fresh. You're that
Yeah.
excited about your mission. You're that
Mm,
open about doing things bigger than
yeah.
yourself. Why weren't
Yeah.
you doing it all this while?
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah,
100%.
but he's like,
Yeah.
but doesn't she look like as if she's glowing? Like usually
Yeah.
you get this glow after you have sex.
Right.
So I was like, okay, maybe I need to glow more. So I had to do that more. So that's
Yeah.
when I started, that is another trigger that got me to start owning it
Mm,
and being
mm,
okay to be a little more
yeah.
louder, little more open, little more sassy, little
Mm,
more everything. And that's got me to where I am.
nice.
So it's a lot of things. I mean, it's a journey.
Yeah.
But, it's
Mm,
like different levels. You take the next step, and the
mm,
next step, and the next step, the next step.
mm,
You take that step, you think you're at the top, then you take another 10 steps. So
yeah. 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 So true. Powerful. I love it. I love it. I mean, you have just, like they say, leave everything on the field. You have been, this is why, and I know I've said this at different points of our journey today, just hearing you like this is why when I had that moment of like, no, now is the time to make these podcasts. And I leaned into it. I had no idea how it was going to be built. But just hearing you like this, and it's so beautiful. I mean, in the moment, you're not only, you know, um, seeking permission, but you're also giving yourself that permission. And to me, that's like it truly shows me, like in the moment, like there's that expression of like people popping like popcorn. Like in the moment, as you're sensing it and as you're feeling it, you're leaning in to what Dia of 1 year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago would have not even noticed, right? Like you're really like tapping in, and I'm being equally vulnerable in that sense where there was a time, I think even a couple of podcasts ago, where I kind of looked away, right?
Yeah,
And I was talking to another friend who incidentally, it's like the batch of 2019, right? People
yeah,
who showed up in all their you know their fullness, right? Before the world kind of was shaken up. So people who anyway were driven, and we just kind of showed up at the same time in the same place. And, as the emotion was welling up for me, I made it a point to not look away, right? Because this is really why we are doing this.
yeah,
That it's not easy. It's very, very, it's like in the old days when you had trainers who dressed up and they presented this, "Oh, ho ho ho, we know everything, right? We have all the answers." Even though of course probably like 60% was like drawn out of the internet and
yeah,
google this and google that, and what have you. But I think that's the difference today, that the world over, people are opening up and realizing that it's like the more present we are being, whatever we've been working through is rising up and is being released.
yes,
You talked about the glow, right? So this is a different way of saying the same thing, that there is this release that is happening when we are being present and holding that space, because we are not doing it for some selfish, hey, this will get clicks or whatever. This is truly coming from that place where we are being that role model for somebody else who's probably will not even express what they are going through in private.
Yeah.
Forget doing it like this on an open forum, right? So, like, I'm extremely mindful of words, and in this word just popped up right now. It's like I truly, truly feel honored that you not only agreed to show up, but you have shared so many of these moments where you really were in the moment and feeling it, and allowing yourself to be you. And I really, really, really wish that more and more people find you, and find you at the time in their journey when you and them and you are meant to be
True.
together as like you be their Sherpa and lead them on the way. And I think I will also be remiss not to close that loop where, like I said, I realized this year was the year where finally, after literally like 17 years in the making, I was like, okay, now is the time for me to make this available to people, like the blend of hypnosis and self hypnosis and NLP. Like now I'm ready to offer it to them in a way where I know it will
To
make that
help
shift for
them.
them. Like
Yeah.
you had that experience of realizing that no, I am owning up to being an impact creator, and I'm I'm showing up to help other people, you know, uh, be their own impact creator,
Yeah.
right? So you know, like genuinely, like thank you so much for uh, just um, just flowing. I mean, I know I had said that to you sometime back that
Mhm.
hey, we're just gonna flow. I have no. I mean, yes, there are some questions that I know will help people. So there are some kind of, milestone points that people will not just be floating with us, but they'll be, oh yeah, okay, now we're talking about this, and then they forget, okay, what were we talking about? But then they're like so drawn into,
Yeah.
our stories and our revelations. So it has like ticked the box in so many ways, and I genuinely, 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 you know, uh, pray that people find this at the time in their lives when they really, really need it. you
Thank
know
you for that, Rahul.
so
Thank you. I
very,
hope
very
you know.
powerful, right? So as we start to now, of course, as we
Let's
finally
land.
start to land the plane,
Let it
so
not
I
be a
noticed
crash
one
landing.
thing. I am also like scanning the other windows. I notice Aparna Ganesh says, "Hey, both of you rock stars," and she sent us
Love
like
you,
hugs
Aparna.
on the
Awesome.
our
You know what?
Facebook.
I also wanted to say that what I feel like saying is that um, going online, making an impact, great. Like reaching out to people, great.
Hmm.
Impacting people, great. But I feel there also needs to be a human connection on
Hmm.
offline as well. And
Hmm.
even though I connect soulfully with you, with with
Yeah.
Aparna, with everybody, like we don't talk. Maybe we don't talk for months together, but
Yeah.
there is
True.
always some connection there. So I can't really. I'm a person. Maybe it's just me, or I don't know if you all relate, but I feel that online I'm not able to really have a conversation
Hmm.
apart from of course this, but have a
Hmm.
conversation on a closer level where I can meet people on Zoom and all that. I think I've just kind of moved away from that. I
Yeah.
feel that
And
it's more
that's
like we need to meet offline. We need to meet and connect, and
yeah.
that's where the energy
Yeah.
comes in. So
And that's that honestly that's totally fine.
yeah,
Um, and like you said, it's like your soul knows what it needs,
yes,
right? I genuinely feel at this point in my life, at this point, in sort of like the timeline, I'm very blessed that I'm able to, to have these kind of soulful connections with people, and conversations. And I completely get where you're coming from. That if internally you don't feel aligned with what you're doing, and I remember this, two-part conversation, right? When we met, this was 2020. Was it last year? I think. Yes, it
yeah.
was
We
last
met
year.
at
So we
yeah, we
met
met
in
at one of these.
2023 in April,
Yeah,
and at the FPR you mentioned that
yes,
no, actually I want this. I want to be amidst people, and it's beautiful how the universe is just showing up, and it's connecting you to people who are on that soulful quest,
Yes.
and that you get to be with them, around them, and also be their guide in the way that that you're meant to be there. So that's really really beautiful how that's kind of like shaping. One last story, uh, because I don't, you may or may not remember this, but when I had come back in, we talk about community in 2022. In This was one of the Saturdays in July.
Hmm.
I think it was the last week of July, or either last week of June. Oh yeah, it was the last week of June. It was a Saturday, and I happened to come on a call, and you being there actually made all the difference.
Huh.
You may
Which
may or
was?
may not remember this.
Oh,
You
I know
were
what you're talking about.
so you were facilitating a group call
Yeah,
on
I
Zoom,
was. Yes, yes, yes,
and just seeing you there in this, firstly in that role, and the way you kind of led that meeting. For me, it was I couldn't have asked for a more perfect re-entry into connecting with community, right? And 2022 definitely played an important part in a lot of those realizations, revelations that I had. Um, which one of them was, of course, finally getting the understanding that yes, you need community,
yeah.
um, but again, allowing that to happen, not force
Loving.
fitting it in
Yes.
because it's the done thing or it's the formula. um, so you know just it's like me just taking a moment now and sharing that gratitude and deep
Thank you,
thanks
Rahul.
for being literally at that point when I could have felt lost, but just seeing you there, like seeing that familiar face, and just the way that you were, literally being yourself, conducting yourself, holding that space. And it's like now over like a year and a half, you've just been doing more and more of it, right? And you've been doing it in a way that you desire.
Yes.
So, and I really wish on a personal front that you have more and more of these. And
Thank you so
one
much.
last micro story, of course, I'm reminded of when we were so, you know with all that spirit in our heart, we were trying to muster a community offline
Yeah.
in Bangalore.
Yes, I remember.
So I definitely see all of this as just starting points. And like I said, I remind myself that it's a journey,
Yes.
and I remind myself to keep zooming out from time to time, because and this is a hack. If you are on that journey, especially as a digital coach and healer, you out there, the I know you're already on the journey. I'm saying for people who are out there, just zoom out, right? If it gets overwhelming, it doesn't mean you have to run away, it doesn't mean you have to drown. Just zoom out, and you'll see yourself, right? That's the NLP. You'll see yourself, and you'll go, okay, okay, now I can go back in and swim, and really truly enjoy that flow. And as always, I truly truly wish for you to live with purpose, and may you find more of you and more of that impact that you can create out there in the world. So,
Thank you.
as we now finally start to wrap, I will, of course, go to each of the windows and close. But, Dia, one last thing, of course, thank you so much, so much, so much for really on a day like today, just being here, being so present. And I truly wish that all your dreams come true.
Thank you so much, Rahul, from the bottom of my heart. And I mean, not just you being a friend, you've been a guide of some sorts. You have been like my supporter. You've been a cheerleader, and I think it's both ways that we are always there on this together, rooting for each
Mm,
other all the time. I mean, of course, life takes over sometimes. People come and go,
sure,
but this
sure.
has just been consistent. However, it is, even if we don't talk for like months together, we are still connected somehow. So I mean, I'm really happy, I'm really excited that I was able to talk like this so openly
Mm,
in front of you. No strings attached, no masks worn, because I've stopped believing in all of that now. And
mm,
it's a huge revelation for me as well. It's a huge revelation for both of us. And
yeah.
yeah, I really wish you all the best in how many ever people you impact and how many
Mm,
need your help. And I really, really wish all your dreams come true. So thank you so much for
thank you.
having
Thank
me
you.
on the show.
Awesome, awesome. So now what I'm going to do is we're still live, but I'm going to start ending the podcasts on the other, as in the lives on Facebook. So thank you, people watching on Facebook. We will see you again soon.
Thank
And
you.
that ends Facebook. Now coming to YouTube. Thank you for watching this live on YouTube. And I will, of course, see you in the next one. And last but not the least, for those of you who are here actually watching the podcast,